The day I walked into that boardroom as the new owner, Jennifer's face went completely white. 3 years ago, she told me I was useless, that I would never amount to anything, that marrying me was the biggest mistake of her life. She stood there in front of our entire department and laughed when I got fired, saying maybe now I would finally understand how embarrassing it was to be married to a failure. I remember the way Jacob smirked beside her, his hand casually resting on the small of her back like he owned her. Like he owned everything I thought was mine. That night, I packed a single suitcase and disappeared without a word. No goodbye. No explanation. No forwarding address. I deleted my social media, changed my phone number, and vanished into thin air. For 3 years, I worked like a man possessed, sleeping 4 hours a night, learning everything I could about business, investments, and corporate acquisitions. I started from nothing, building my way up through sheer determination and every ounce of anger I had stored inside. And now, here I was, standing at the head of the conference table in a custom-tailored suit that cost more than Jennifer's monthly salary, looking down at the woman who once made me feel like I was worth nothing. The irony was delicious. The company she worked so hard to climb the ladder in, the place where she humiliated me in front of everyone, now belonged to me. Every desk, every computer, every coffee machine, even the parking spot where she used to park her car next to Jacob's, all of it was mine. She stared at me like she was seeing a ghost, her mouth opening and closing but no words coming out. Jacob looked confused, clearly not recognizing me at first with my new appearance, the confidence I carried, the way I commanded the room. But Jennifer knew. I could see it in her eyes. She knew exactly who I was. And in that moment, watching her perfect composed mask crack, I felt something I had not felt in 3 years. Satisfaction. Pure, cold satisfaction. This was just the beginning. My name is James, and 6 years ago I thought I had everything figured out. I was 25, fresh out of college, and deeply in love with the most beautiful woman I had ever met. Jennifer was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, ambitious, gorgeous, with this way of lighting up a room the moment she walked in. We met during our final year at university. In one of those boring economics lectures where nobody paid attention. She sat next to me one day, borrowed my notes, and just like that, I was hooked. We started dating 3 months later, and I genuinely believed I had found my soulmate. She came from a wealthy family, the kind of people who summered in Europe and had connections everywhere. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels. Her mother was on the board of several charities, and her older brother was already a successful lawyer. Me, on the other hand, I came from a middle-class family. My dad was a high school teacher, my mom worked as a nurse, and we lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but we were happy. When I told my parents I wanted to marry Jennifer, they were supportive but cautious. They could see how different our worlds were, but they trusted my judgment. Jennifer's family, however, was a different story. Her mother looked at me like I was something she stepped in, barely hiding her disgust during our first dinner together. Her father just ignored me completely, talking business with her brother while I sat there feeling invisible. But Jennifer said she loved me. That none of that mattered, that we would build our own life together. So I believed her. We got married in a small ceremony. Nothing like the grand wedding her parents wanted. They refused to pay for it since I insisted on being involved in the planning, so we did everything ourselves. It was beautiful in its simplicity, just close friends and family, and for a while, we were truly happy. After the wedding, Jennifer got a job at Sterling Corporation, a mid-sized tech company that was growing fast. She started as a junior analyst, but she was smart and driven, so she moved up quickly. I got hired at the same company 6 months later, in the IT department. It was not glamorous, but the pay was decent and I was good at what I did. I fixed computers, managed the servers, helped people when their systems crashed. It was stable, reliable work. For the first 2 years of our marriage, things were good. We rented a small apartment downtown, spent our weekends exploring the city, cooking dinner together, planning our future. Jennifer talked about wanting kids someday, about buying a house with a big backyard, about growing old together. I worked hard, picked up extra shifts when I could, saved every penny I could spare. I wanted to give her everything, to prove to her family that I was worthy of their daughter, but slowly, things started to change. Jennifer got promoted to senior analyst, then to team lead, then to junior manager. With each promotion, she changed a little more. She started working later, coming home after 9 or 10 at night. She stopped cooking with me, saying she was too tired. She stopped asking about my day, barely looking up from her phone during dinner. I told myself it was just stress. That once things settled down at work, we would get back to normal. Then Jacob joined the company. He was hired as the new head of marketing, brought in from some big firm in New York with an impressive resume and an ego to match. He was tall, handsome, charming in that smooth way that made everyone like him instantly. He wore expensive suits, drove a luxury car, and had this confidence that filled every room he entered. Jennifer was assigned to work closely with him on a major project. Something about rebranding the company and expanding into new markets. Suddenly, she was spending even more time at the office, attending meetings that ran until midnight, going on business trips that lasted days. And every time I asked about it, she would snap at me, telling me I did not understand how important this project was, how this could make her career. I tried to be supportive, I really did. I would wait up for her, have dinner ready even though she usually said she already ate. I would ask about her day, listen to her talk about strategies and campaigns and corporate politics. I would massage her shoulders when she complained about being tense, run her baths, do the laundry so she would have one less thing to worry about. But it was never enough. She started comparing me to Jacob. Little comments at first, barely noticeable. Jacob is so dedicated, he is at the office before everyone else. Jacob has such great ideas. He really knows how to think outside the box. Jacob went to Harvard, did you know that? Then the comments got sharper. Why do not you have that kind of ambition? Jacob is younger than you and he is already so successful. Do you ever think about doing more with your life? I tried to brush it off, telling myself she was just stressed, but the words cut deeper each time. The worst part was, I started to believe her. Maybe I was not ambitious enough. Maybe I should be doing more, earning more, being more. I looked into business courses, thought about going back to school for an MBA, but with our expenses and Jennifer's student loans, we could not afford it. So I stayed in IT, fixing computers and feeling smaller every day. Everything fell apart on a Tuesday in November, 3 years ago. I remember the date because it was supposed to be our 4th wedding anniversary. I had taken the afternoon off, planning to surprise Jennifer with a nice dinner at home. I stopped by her favorite bakery and picked up the chocolate raspberry cake she loved, the one that cost way too much but was worth it to see her smile. I bought flowers, white roses because they reminded her of our wedding. I even splurged on a bottle of wine from the year we got married. The apartment was cleaned, candles were lit, soft music was playing. I was wearing the shirt she bought me for my birthday, the one she said made me look handsome. Everything was perfect. Except Jennifer never came home. By 8 o'clock, I tried calling. No answer. I sent texts. No response. I called her office line. Nothing. By 9 o'clock, I was worried something had happened. By 10 o'clock, I was checking hospital websites and police reports. Finally, at 11:15, she walked through the door, laughing loudly, clearly drunk. And Jacob was with her. They both stopped when they saw me standing in the kitchen. The cold dinner still on the table, the melted candles, the wilted flowers. Jennifer blinked at me like she was trying to remember something, then her eyes widened slightly. Oh, our anniversary. I completely forgot. Jacob smirked, not even trying to hide it. He looked around at my pathetic attempt at a romantic evening and I could see the judgment in his eyes. Sorry man, he said, not sounding sorry at all. We had a huge breakthrough on the campaign today. Had to celebrate. We hit up that new rooftop bar downtown. You should see this place, it is incredible. Jennifer giggled, stumbling slightly. Jacob caught her arm, steadying her, his hand lingering on her waist. It was amazing. James. We finally cracked the strategy. This is going to be huge for the company. I just stood there, holding a dish towel, feeling like an idiot. Our anniversary. I said quietly. You forgot our anniversary. She waved her hand dismissively. God, don't not be so dramatic. It is just a day. We can celebrate this weekend or something. Jacob, do you want some water before you go? Before he goes, I repeated. You brought him here. She rolled her eyes. He gave me a ride. I obviously could not drive. What was I supposed to do, take a cab? You could have called me. I would have picked you up. She laughed, actually laughed. You. Pick me up in that ancient car of yours. Jacob drives a Tesla, James. It is just more convenient. Something inside me cracked. I had spent 4 hours cooking her favorite meal, cleaning the entire apartment, trying to make everything special, and she brought another man home on our anniversary. And she was defending it. Jacob clearly sensed the tension and decided to leave, but not before kissing Jennifer on the cheek, a kiss that lasted a second too long, that was placed a little too close to her mouth. See you tomorrow, Jen. Great work today. After he left, I tried to talk to her, but she was already walking to the bedroom, kicking off her heels. I am exhausted. James. Can we not do this right now? Do what? I asked, Following her. Acknowledge that you forgot our anniversary and brought your co-worker home drunk at 11 at night. She spun around, and for the first time, I saw real anger in her eyes. You know what your problem is. You are insecure. Jacob and I are working on the biggest project this company has ever seen, and all you can think about is your precious feelings. Grow up. That is not fair. Fair, she snapped. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I am out there building a career, making real money, while you are stuck in the IT department fixing printers? Is it fair that I have to carry this relationship financially because you have zero ambition? I felt like I had been slapped. We split the bills evenly. You have never carried anything. She laughed bitterly. Please. Your salary is a joke compared to mine. And do not even get me started on how embarrassing it is when people ask what my husband does and I have to say he is in tech support. She said tech support like it was something disgusting. Like I was something disgusting. I tried to defend myself, to explain that I worked hard, that my job mattered, but she just kept going. Jacob is a vice president at 32. 32, James. Do you know what you will be at 32? Still fixing computers. Still being useless. The word hung in the air between us. Useless. That is what you think of me, I said slowly. That I am useless. Jennifer's expression softened slightly, like maybe she realized she had gone too far. I did not mean, she started. Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every word. She sighed, suddenly looking tired. Look, I have had too much to drink and I am exhausted. Let us just forget this and talk tomorrow. But we did not talk tomorrow. Or the day after. Jennifer avoided me, leaving early for work and coming home late. When we did cross paths, she was cold, distant, like I was just some roommate she barely tolerated. And Jacob was everywhere. I would see them in the cafeteria, laughing over lunch. I would spot his car in the parking lot next to hers. I would notice how she lit up when he walked into a room. The same way she used to light up for me. The next 2 months were the darkest period of my life. I became a ghost in my own marriage, watching helplessly as my wife fell in love with another man right in front of me. Every morning I would wake up to an empty bed, Jennifer already gone to the office. I would make breakfast for 2 out of habit, then eat alone, staring at her untouched plate. At work, I tried to avoid seeing them together. But Sterling Corporation was not that big. The IT department was on the 3rd floor. And I had to pass by the marketing wing every time I went to the server room. Without fail, I would see them through the glass walls of the conference room. Heads bent together over lapped boards, laughing at private jokes. Their body language screaming intimacy. Jacob had started bringing her coffee every morning. Not just any coffee, but this expensive artisan blend from a cafe across town that cost $12 a cup. The same cafe where Jennifer and I used to go on our first dates, back when she thought it was romantic that I saved up to take her there. Now Jacob bought it for her every single day like it was nothing. I watched her face light up each time he walked in with those cups, the way she would touch his arm in thanks, letting her hand linger just a moment too long. My coworker Dennis noticed my spiraling mood. He was a good guy, been with the company for 15 years, seen everything. One afternoon while we were replacing some faulty hard drives, he asked me straight out if everything was okay at home. I tried to brush it off. But he just gave me this look. Listen man, he said quietly. I have been married for 23 years. I know what a struggling marriage looks like. Whatever is going on, you need to address it now before it is too late. But I did not know how to address it. What was I supposed to say? Every conversation with Jennifer turned into a fight. If I asked about her day, she said I was being nosy. If I did not ask, she said I did not care. If I suggested we spend time together, she was too busy. If I gave her space, she accused me of being distant. I could not win. The worst part was how she had turned our friends against me. We had a group, people we went to college with, couples we used to hang out with on weekends. Jennifer started feeding them her version of events. Poor me, stuck with an unambitious husband who could not handle her success. Poor me. Married to someone who got jealous of her work relationships. Poor me, carrying the financial burden while he coasted in an easy job. I only found out because our friend Michael pulled me aside at a birthday party. Dude, is it true you have been giving Jennifer a hard time about working late? The way she tells it, you are being really controlling. I was stunned. Controlling. I had never tried to control anything, Jennifer did. I just wanted my wife back. But when I tried to explain, I could see the doubt in Michael's eyes. Jennifer had already painted me as the villain, and her version was more compelling. She was the successful career woman being held back by her insecure husband. It was a narrative people wanted to believe. At home, the tension was suffocating. We barely spoke anymore. Jennifer started sleeping in the guest room, claiming she did not want to wake me when she came home late. But I would lie awake anyway, hearing her come in at 1 or 2 in the morning, sometimes later. I started tracking her location on the app we had installed years ago for safety. I know it was wrong, but I was desperate. Most nights, her location showed she was at the office. But some nights, it showed Jacob's apartment building. When I confronted her about it, she exploded. "You are tracking me. What is wrong with you? That is psychotic, James. We were working on the presentation. His apartment is closer to the office than ours. It is more efficient." Efficient. That was her excuse for spending nights at another man's apartment. I asked her to stop, to set boundaries, to remember that she was married. She looked at me with such contempt. "You are pathetic," she said coldly. "Jacob treats me like an equal, like someone whose career and ambitions matter. You treat me like I am supposed to come home and play housewife for you. That is not what I want. I just want my wife." "Well, maybe your wife wants more than this." She gestured around our apartment with disgust. "More than you." That broke something fundamental inside me. I stopped arguing. I stopped trying. I went through the motions of daily life like a robot. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. I lost 15 pounds because I forgot to eat most days. My performance at work suffered. I started making careless mistakes, missing deadlines, showing up late. My manager called me in for a performance review. "James, you have been with us for 3 years and you have always been reliable. But lately, your work has been slipping. Is everything all right?" I wanted to tell him everything, to explain that my wife was having an emotional affair at minimum with his golden boy, vice president, that my marriage was falling apart, that I could barely function. But I just nodded and promised to do better. I did not do better. 2 weeks later, my manager called me in again. This time, HR was there. They laid it out plainly. My performance had not improved. In fact, it had gotten worse. They showed me reports of complaints from other departments about delayed responses, unresolved technical issues, systems that stayed down too long. They were letting me go, effective immediately. I sat there numb as they went through the exit process. Security would escort me out. I had 2 hours to clear my desk. I could apply for unemployment. They wished me the best. The walk to my desk felt like a funeral march. People stared as I packed my belongings into a cardboard box. My hands were shaking so badly I kept dropping things. And then I heard her laugh. Jennifer's laugh. Coming from the marketing wing. I looked up and saw her through the glass wall, sitting on the edge of Jacob's desk, both of them looking at something on his computer screen, completely unaware that my life was falling apart 50 feet away. Or maybe she knew. Maybe she did not care. Dennis helped me carry my box to my car. He did not say anything, just squeezed my shoulder before heading back inside. I sat in the parking lot for an hour, staring at that building, at the windows of the 3rd floor where I had spent 3 years of my life. Then I drove home, put the box by the door, and waited for Jennifer. She came home at 9, looking annoyed to see me there. "Why are you home so early?" she asked, not even noticing the box. "I got fired today." She froze, her bag slipping from her shoulder. "What do you mean you got fired?" Jennifer said, her voice rising with each word. "How do you get fired from fixing computers? It is the easiest job in the building." I explained about my performance reviews, the complaints, how I had been struggling. But even as I said it, I could hear how weak it sounded. She paced back and forth, her heels clicking angrily on the hardwood floor. "This is unbelievable. Do you know how embarrassing this is for me? I work there, James. Everyone is going to know my husband got fired. What am I supposed to tell people?" Her concern was not for me, for us, for how we would manage financially. It was about her image, her reputation, how this made her look. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "I am sorry," I said flatly. "I will find another job." "You better," she snapped. "Because I am not supporting an unemployed husband." The judgment in her voice. The disgust. It was like being hit over and over. She grabbed her phone and started texting furiously. I did not need to ask who she was texting. 10 minutes later, she announced she was going back to the office. "There is a crisis with the campaign. I need to be there. At 9:30 at night, on the day your husband got fired." She gave me a look that could freeze fire. "Yes, James. Some of us still have jobs. Some of us still have responsibilities." After she left, I sat in the dark apartment for hours. Around midnight, I checked her location again. Jacob's apartment. I do not know what came over me. But I got in my car and drove there. It was a nice building in the expensive part of town, the kind of place with a doorman and valet parking. I parked across the street and stared up at the windows. On the 7th floor, I could see lights on in what I assumed was his unit. I watched shadows move past the windows. 2 shadows, standing close together. I sat there until 3 in the morning, and Jennifer never came out. I drove home, packed a suitcase with clothes and my laptop, and loaded it into my car. Then I went back inside and waited. Jennifer came home at 6 in the morning, clearly not expecting me to be awake. She jumped when she saw me sitting at the kitchen table. "Where were you?" I asked calmly. "At the office." I shook my head. "No, you were not. You were at Jacob's apartment. All night." Her face went through several expressions: shock, anger, defiance, before settling on cold indifference. "So what if I was?" "We were working." "Working?" "At 3 in the morning. In his apartment. For 9 hours." She slammed her purse on the counter. "You know what? I am done with this. I am done with your jealousy, your accusations, your complete inability to handle the fact that I have a successful career and you do not. Then let me make this easy for you," I said, standing up. "I am leaving." She blinked. "What?" "I am leaving. I do not know where yet, but I am not staying here watching you pretend you are not having an affair." Her face flushed red. "I am not having an affair. You actually think I would cheat with Jacob? He is my colleague, you paranoid." "Maybe not physically," I said, "but emotionally. You are in love with him, Jennifer, and you have been for months." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. For a moment, just a brief moment, I saw something like guilt flicker across her face. But it vanished quickly, replaced by anger. "If I am emotionally invested in Jacob," she said acily, "it is because he actually supports me. He believes in me. He does not make me feel guilty for being successful. You have never supported me. I have done nothing but support you. I gave up my own ambitions, my own plans, to be there for you. I cooked, I cleaned, I did everything to make your life easier so you could focus on your career, and you thank me by falling in love with someone else. That is not support," she yelled. "That is you being lazy and hiding behind being a good husband. You never tried to build anything for yourself because it was easier to just coast and play house husband." The cruelty of her words left me speechless. This woman I had loved for 6 years, who I had married, who I had built a life with, genuinely believed I was worthless. "Fine," I said quietly. "You are right. I am useless. I am a failure. I am everything you think I am. I hope Jacob gives you everything you deserve." I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door. Jennifer followed me. "Where are you going to go? You do not have a job. You do not have money. You are going to come crawling back in a week." I stopped at the door and looked back at her. "Maybe I will. Or maybe I will disappear and you will never see me again. Either way, you get what you want. You are free." Her expression shifted to something I could not read. "James. Wait." But I did not wait. I got in my car and drove. I drove until the city disappeared behind me, until I crossed state lines, until I had no idea where I was. Finally, I stopped at a rest area somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I sat in my car, shaking, the reality of what I had just done crashing over me. I had left. I had actually left my wife, my home, my entire life. I had $600 in my checking account, a suitcase of clothes, and absolutely no plan. My phone kept buzzing with calls and texts from Jennifer. At first, they were angry. "You are being ridiculous. Come home right now." Then they turned manipulative. I did not mean what I said. "Let us talk about this." Then desperate. "James, please. Where are you?" I am worried, but I knew her. She was not worried about me. She was worried about how my disappearance looked, about what people would say, about having to explain why her husband left. I turned off my phone and threw it in the trash. Then I drove to the nearest city, walked into a library, and started researching. I researched business ventures, investment strategies, online courses, anything and everything I could learn. If Jennifer thought I was useless, if she thought I had no ambition, I would prove her wrong. Not for her. Not anymore. But for me. I spent the first week living in my car, showering at truck stops, eating cheap fast food. I used the library computers during the day to apply for jobs, anywhere that was not home. I got hired at a warehouse 2 states over, loading trucks overnight. It was brutal work, but it paid cash under the table and nobody asked questions. I rented a tiny room in a boarding house, barely bigger than a closet, but it had a bed and internet. That was all I needed. 3 years passed like a fever dream. That first year, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously. The warehouse at night, data entry from home during the day, and weekend shifts at a grocery store. I slept 4 hours if I was lucky. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I did not have a social life. I did not have hobbies. I had one singular focus, which was to become someone Jennifer could never call useless again. With my first real paycheck, I enrolled in online business courses. I studied during my breaks, on the bus, lying in bed before passing out from exhaustion. Marketing, finance, business management, investment strategies. I devoured it all like a starving man. I used a fake name, created a new email, made sure there was no way Jennifer could find me even if she tried. By month 6, I had saved $3,000. I invested half in cryptocurrency, which everyone said was risky, but I had done my research. The rest I put into learning how to code properly. Not just basic IT work but real software development. I taught myself Python, JavaScript, SQL. I built websites for small businesses, charging cheap rates to build my portfolio. By the end of year 1, my cryptocurrency investment had quadrupled. I cashed out half and invested it in stocks, carefully researched tech companies that I believed would grow. The other half I left to continue growing. I quit the grocery store job and started freelancing full-time as a developer while still working the warehouse nights for stable income. Year 2 was when things accelerated. My freelance work got noticed by a startup looking for someone to build their entire platform. They could not afford to pay much upfront, but they offered equity. 5% of the company if I would work for reduced rates. I took the gamble. The startup was a logistics software company, something I understood from my warehouse work. I knew the pain points, the inefficiencies. What workers actually needed. I built them a system that revolutionized how they tracked inventory and shipments. Within 8 months, they got bought out by a major corporation for $30 million. My 5% suddenly became $1.5 million. I took that money and invested aggressively. I bought into 3 struggling companies that I believed had potential, small tech firms that were being mismanaged but had good bones. I joined their boards, used everything I had learned, turned them around, and sold 2 of them for significant profits. The third one I kept and grew, installing myself as the CEO. It was a software company that specialized in corporate management systems. By year 3, we had contracts with 15 Fortune 500 companies. Our revenue hit $50 million annually. I had become wealthy. Not just comfortable but genuinely wealthy. But money was not the goal. The goal was proving that I was not the useless failure Jennifer had made me believe I was. Then I heard through my network that Sterling Corporation was struggling. Their big rebranding campaign, the one Jennifer and Jacob had worked on, had been a disaster. They had overextended, made bad investments, and lost several major clients. The company was hemorrhaging money and looking for a buyer. I made an offer through a shell corporation, one that could not be traced back to me. I offered $30 million for complete acquisition, which was generous given their financial state. They accepted within a week. The day I walked into Sterling Corporation as the new owner, wearing a suit that cost more than my old car, I felt like a different person. I was a different person. My hair was styled professionally. I had put on muscle from finally being able to afford a gym membership and proper food. I carried myself with the confidence of someone who had built an empire from nothing. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 in the morning. I arrived at 9. Walking through the lobby where I used to badge in as a low-level IT worker, the security guard did not recognize me. Why would he? That James was gone. I took the elevator to the executive floor, somewhere I had never been allowed before. The conference room was massive, all glass walls, and expensive furniture. Slowly, the department heads filed in. I watched them through the glass as I stood in the hallway, waiting for my entrance. Then I saw her. Jennifer walked in, wearing a sharp business suit, her hair pulled back, looking every bit the successful executive she had always wanted to be. She had made it to director of marketing. I had done my research. Behind her, like a shadow, was Jacob. He was senior vice president now. They sat next to each other. Naturally. Their chairs almost touching. I wondered if they were together officially now, or if they still maintained the pretense of being just colleagues. My attorney nodded at me. It was time. I walked into that conference room and every conversation stopped. Jennifer was looking at her phone, but Jacob glanced up first. He looked confused, trying to place my face. Then Jennifer looked up, and I watched the color drain from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "James," she whispered. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at me, then at her, trying to understand the connection. "Good morning," I said smoothly, moving to the head of the table. For those who do not know me, my name is James Mitchell, and as of last Friday, I am the new owner of Sterling Corporation. Several people started talking at once, but I raised my hand. I know this is surprising. I have reviewed all department reports, financial statements, and personnel files over the past week. There are going to be significant changes. Jennifer found her voice. You cannot. This is. She could not even form a complete sentence. I smiled coldly. I can, actually. And I will. Let us start with the marketing department. I pulled up a presentation on the screen behind me, one my team had prepared. This shows the performance of your department over the past 3 years. The rebranding campaign cost this company $15 million and resulted in a 20% loss in market share. Can someone explain to me how that is acceptable? Jacob tried to jump in. The market conditions changed. We could not have predicted. Could not have predicted, I interrupted. That customers would hate the new direction. That your messaging was tone deaf. That you alienated our core demographic while failing to attract new ones. This is basic marketing. I spent the next 20 minutes systematically dismantling every decision the marketing department had made. I showed graphs, data, customer feedback, all the research I had done. Jennifer sat there, her face getting redder, her hands clenched into fists. Finally, she exploded. You have no idea what you are talking about. You are not even a businessman. You are IT support. You fixed computers. We're IT support, I corrected. Past tense, now, I am your boss. And as your boss, I am reorganizing this department. Jacob, you are being reassigned to regional sales. Jennifer, you are being moved to junior analyst. Jacob shot to his feet. You cannot do that. I am senior vice president. You were senior vice president, I said calmly. Now, you are regional sales manager. Your salary will be adjusted accordingly. If you do not like it, there is the door. Jennifer was shaking. This is because of me. Because of our marriage. You are abusing your power. I looked at her. Really looked at her, and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just cold indifference. This has nothing to do with our past. This is about performance. Your department failed, catastrophically. These are the consequences. But since you brought up our marriage, let me be clear. We are divorced. Have been for 2 years. I filed the paperwork shortly after I left. You never responded, so it went through uncontested. Whatever we were, we are not anymore. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning. Tears started running down Jennifer's face, but they did not move me. After the meeting ended, people filed out quickly, not wanting to be caught in the aftermath of what they had just witnessed. Jacob left immediately, his face red with humiliation. But Jennifer stayed. She sat in her chair, staring at the table, tears streaming down her face. I gathered my papers, preparing to leave. James, she said quietly. Please. Can we talk? Privately. Against my better judgment, I nodded. We went to my new office, the corner office that used to belong to the CEO. It had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, expensive furniture, and artwork on the walls. I sat behind the massive desk, and Jennifer stood in front of it, looking small and lost. I did not know, she started. I did not know you filed for divorce. I tried to find you, for months. I tried. I called everyone we knew. I hired a private investigator. You just vanished. I leaned back in my chair. What did you expect, Jennifer? You told me I was useless. You fell in love with another man. You made it very clear that I was nothing but an embarrassment to you. I did not fall in love with Jacob, she said quickly. That was never. We never. I held up a hand. It does not matter now. Whether it was physical or emotional, you checked out of our marriage long before I left. But I still loved you, she whispered. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I never stopped loving you. I laughed, a harsh sound. You loved me. You had a funny way of showing it. Belittling my job, comparing me to Jacob constantly, spending nights at his apartment. Forgetting our anniversary. That is love to you. I was under so much pressure, she said desperately. The campaign, my career, trying to prove myself to everyone. I took it out on you and that was wrong, but I never meant for you to leave. I never wanted to lose you. You did not lose me, I said coldly. You threw me away. You made it clear I was not good enough for you, that I would never be good enough. So I left and I became someone else. Someone successful, someone powerful, someone you could never call useless. And now look at us. I own this company. I am your boss. The power dynamic you loved so much with Jacob, where he was above you and I was below, it is completely reversed now. Her face crumpled. I know I was horrible to you. I have spent 3 years regretting everything, I said, everything I did. When you disappeared, I realized how much I had destroyed. Jacob and I tried to date after you left, but it fell apart in weeks. He was not you. Nobody was you. Every day I hoped you would come back so I could apologize, so I could make it right. But you cannot make it right, I said firmly. You cannot undo 3 years of emotional abuse. You cannot take back telling me I was worthless, that you were embarrassed by me, that I had no ambition. Those words are permanent, Jennifer. They changed me. What if I quit? She said suddenly. What if I left Sterling Corporation? Would you give me another chance? Could we try again? I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. For a long time, I did not say anything. I am engaged, I finally said. Her sharp intake of breath was audible. What? Her name is Barbara. She is the chief operating officer of my main company. We met 2 years ago, at a business conference. She is brilliant, ambitious, kind, and she has never once made me feel like I am anything less than her equal. We are getting married in 6 months. I turned to face Jennifer, who looked like I had physically struck her. I am not telling you this to hurt you, I continued. I am telling you because you need to understand that chapter of my life is closed. I am not the man you married. That James died the day he drove away from you. The person standing here built himself from nothing, and he did it without you. Jennifer was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I know, I said quietly. And I do forgive you, Jennifer. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I spent too long angry, too long hurt. Forgiveness is for me, not you. She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. So we could. No, I said firmly. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You are going to take the junior analyst position, or you are going to leave this company. Either way, we are going to maintain a professional relationship only. No personal conversations. No attempts to revisit the past. We are done, but I love you, she whispered. Then you should have treated me like you loved me when you had the chance, I replied. I walked to the door and opened it. Barbara is waiting for me. We have a lunch meeting with investors. I suggest you clean yourself up before you go back to your desk. People are going to have questions. As I walked past her, she grabbed my arm. James, please. I gently removed her hand. Goodbye, Jennifer. I walked out of that office and did not look back. In the hallway, Barbara was waiting, looking stunning in a navy suit. She smiled when she saw me, that warm, genuine smile that still made my heart skip. How did it go? She asked, taking my hand. It went exactly as it needed to, I said. Ready for lunch, always. We walked to the elevator together, and just before the doors closed, I saw Jennifer standing in the hallway, watching us. She looked broken, devastated, destroyed. 3 years ago, seeing her like that would have shattered me. I would have run back, tried to fix things, tried to make her happy. But not anymore. The doors closed, and I felt nothing but relief. 6 months later, Barbara and I got married in a beautiful ceremony in Italy. Samuel was my best man. Dennis from my old IT days came, along with the business partners and friends I had made in my new life. It was perfect. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jennifer had left Sterling Corporation 3 months after I took over. She moved to a different city, took a job at a smaller company. Jacob apparently got fired shortly after for poor performance and attitude issues. Last I heard, he was working in middle management somewhere, his golden boy image thoroughly tarnished. As for Sterling Corporation, I spent 2 years restructuring it, bringing in new talent, fixing the mistakes that had nearly bankrupted it. We became profitable again, growing steadily. Eventually, I sold it for twice what I paid, making a substantial profit, but it was never about the money. It was about proving to myself that I was not useless. That I had value, ambition, and capability. Jennifer did not destroy me. She freed me. She freed me from a toxic marriage, from a life where I made myself small to make someone else feel big, from the prison of trying to be enough for someone who would never be satisfied. Sometimes late at night, Barbara asleep beside me in our home, I think about that version of James who sat in a dark apartment, waiting for a wife who would never come home. The James who believed he was worthless because that is what he was told. I feel sad for him, for how much he suffered, how lost he was. But I am also grateful to him. Because his pain, his rock bottom, his complete destruction, that is what forged me into who I am today. I am not useless. I never was. And I never will be again. Some people say revenge is hollow, that it does not bring satisfaction. They are wrong. Walking into that boardroom and watching Jennifer realize I had become everything she said I could never be, that was not just satisfying. It was transformative. It was closure. It was the final period on a chapter that had haunted me for years. I did not return to destroy her. I returned to prove that she was wrong about me, and in doing so, I freed myself completely. Now I run a successful company with my wife, who is also my business partner and best friend. We have plans to start a family next year. I mentor young entrepreneurs who are struggling, especially those who have been told they are not good enough, sharing my story to inspire them. Life is not just good. It is extraordinary. And it all started the day I stopped believing I was useless and started building the life I deserved. Jennifer was right about one thing. I did disappear for 3 years. But I did not disappear to hide. I disappeared to transform. And when I returned as someone even I did not recognize. Someone strong. Someone successful. Someone who would never again let another person define his worth. That is the ultimate revenge. Not destruction, but transformation. Not tearing her down, but building myself up so high that her opinion became irrelevant. She said I was useless. I proved I was unstoppable. And that made all the difference.